Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. And welcome to day 5 of our marketing planning boot camp. It is a 10-day program. Oh, look, Angie, good to see you. Good morning to you. And thanks so much for tuning in and joining. I appreciate it. Thanks for enabling StreamYard also. Glad that you found it so quickly. So hopefully some of the new things that I'm doing are allowing you guys to see everything that's there. For joining. Sorry. So I'm typing in on the Facebook group to say thanks for joining so that it tries to bring it to the top of the feed. So today is one of my favorites because today we're talking about our target audience. Let me pull up my notes here. So identifying your target audience is one of the most difficult things to do in marketing. And I say difficult not because it's hard, but because it is time consuming. And the reason it's time consuming is we don't always like to think about it. So we sometimes don't know how to think about it either. And so as we're talking about this, I want to share with you a couple of different things to think about when you're thinking about your target audience. So first of all, most of us are small business owners, right? Or entrepreneurs or solopreneurs. Angie, I believe, is a photographer. So there's a lot of different things that we can do to think about our target audience. And again, I don't recommend doing major research and, employing a research company or anything like that. There's a couple of different things that we can do that are easier from that perspective. Number one, who's your best customer? Who's your favorite customer? Who is it that you like to deal with the most? Describe them. Get to know them better. Ask them questions about what they like to do or what they're doing. Have a conversation with them. Give them a call. I was talking with one of my clients and I said, call your favorite client and ask them, how did they find you? What was the pain point that put them over the edge that wanted to do it? Have a regular conversation with them. But don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm doing some research. I'm working on growing my business in 2022. Could you talk to me a few minutes about how you found me and why we're working together, things like that. Some of the questions they're not going to remember because maybe they've been a client for 5-10 years. But some of them they will. Some of them will keep them in touch with it. If you have status meetings with your customers or if they're coming into your store, anything along those lines, start your conversation off with a little chit chat. So again, some personalities like chit chat a little bit more than others. I'm definitely a chit chatter. So as you are thinking about your target audience and what you're doing, I want you to think about how you can find some of this information out, either by directly having a conversation with the person that you want to target, or multiple people in that prospective audience. Now, when you're writing, whether it's an email or a blog post or I'm doing this, I'm thinking about one person on the other side of this screen, and it's as if I'm talking to them. So I'm trying to craft my information so that I'm having a direct conversation with you, and I want you to feel like I'm having a conversation with you. So hopefully you do. So what I want you to do is think about that person's name. You can change it. It doesn't have to be like, hey, Susie is the person who, is my favorite client. Well, you don't have to name the persona or your target audience person Susie. You can name her whatever you wanted her to be. And if your target is male, then name him whatever you want it to be. Something that's just going to make it real so that when you're having a meeting with other people or you're having a conversation with yourself about, well, what would Jim want here? Or what would Susie want here? What is Susie struggling with right now? Those types of questions get you really thinking about a person. It's so much easier for me to be able to talk to one person than trying to talk to a group of people. So think about, what do they do for a living? Okay, so do they work outside the home, or are they a stay-at-home mom? Are they retired? Do they run an Etsy store on the side? Do they have a side hustle? What do they do for a living? Do they volunteer? Are they on multiple committees? What skills do they have? So think about it. What are some different, especially in the business to business space like I'm at, what skills do they have? What skills don't they have? So I might work with a company that has somebody that's great at their website, but not so good at email marketing. Well, I can fill that gap. So that could be one thing that I target, for instance. What are their goals? What are their problems? So think about what they want to achieve. So Angie selling her photos, think about it as um, they want to achieve a look. They want something unique. Maybe they love nature. Maybe they love one of a kind pieces. What is it? What is their goal? It doesn't have to be a work goal. What are their problems? What are they struggling with? The problems are always a really good one to think about, because that's where you can fit in. And those are the things that you can struggle with. My target audience struggles with finding time to work on their business. They have no problem. They're working in their business a lot, but they struggle finding time to work on their business. So, what do they do in their free time? So, where do they shop? What activities do they do? Are they just running their child from point A to point B? Are they reading on their Kindle? Are they watching YouTube videos? What is it that they do in their free time? And then think about and ask them, where do they spend most of their time online? I have been hearing a ridiculous amount of people telling me that Facebook is dying and that people aren't on Facebook anymore and young people aren't on Facebook anymore. So I teach it part-time I'm adjunct faculty at Rochester University, and I was working with my students and I asked them where they were on. What social media sites did they go to most often? Every single one, except for one, noted Facebook as one of their top 2 social media sites. These kids are 19, 20, and 21. So don't make assumptions based upon certain trends that you're hearing and things like that. Your audience might not be on Facebook. That's okay. But ask them, what are they on? What are they using? Are they on YouTube? Are they just going to Facebook for groups? What is it that they're doing? And then why do they want to work with you? So you always want to get that question, because there's a reason behind what they're trying to do. Now, you don't have to limit yourself to one person to find. You could have 2. You could have, I've talked about this before, but one of my clients just likes to target existing customers. Well, we could create a profile for existing customers. We could also create a profile for prospects if they want to expand it on bringing people in, and what other kinds of people they want to bring in. And there may be a difference between those two, because maybe their current clients are less sophisticated or more sophisticated, and they want some more transactional business. Whatever it happens to be, we could change that up depending on what they want to bring in. And then again, writing is best when it's only to one person, which is really, really what you want to do. All right. So if you want to let me be able to see your face and name, just go ahead, and I can probably see it if I go over here. So thank you very much. Oh, there's Lisa. So thank you, Lisa, for joining in. I appreciate it, and for participating. I have a special gift for you. So Lisa says, we once did a lunch roundtable discussion with our 6 best customers, why they chose us, what we do that they like, what we could do better, and what their pain points in their business that they expect us to solve. Yes, people have no problem talking about themselves. I can talk about myself all day, every day. Other people, they like talking about themselves, right? So ask them questions. People aren't going to tell you no. They're not going to tell you about themselves. Having a conversation and the lunch roundtable, like Lisa said, that's better than a survey. And the reason I'm going to tell you that is because it fills in the blanks. So they may use words that you're not using. That's one of my favorites. So I use things like content marketing. And it's interesting because as soon as I say the words content marketing, people know what I'm talking about, but that's not what they use to describe what they do. People are using specific words like, well, I don't know what to post on social media, or I don't know what to post on my website. They're talking about their specific tactics and locations rather than content marketing as a strategy. So when I talk a lot about content marketing, I lose a little bit of my audience. They don't know what else to call it once I say content marketing. But before I say that, they're using different words, if that makes sense. And words are extremely important. And that's why your target audience is so important, because if you can use the words that they use and the words that they'll relate to, I mean, could you imagine how it feels that it speaks to you? Have you ever flipped through a magazine and seen an ad written just to you? My favorite, for those of you who are older like me, that is, do you remember that 1-800-CONTACTS commercial? So 1-800-CONTACTS, they had been around for a little while, and then they launched, and I feel like it was in the early 2000s. They launched a commercial that said it was supposedly a husband and wife having a conversation, and one of them had gotten call 1-800-CONTACTS or whatever, and he's like, but I can't because I have special eyes. And it was interesting because the conversation was basically like, no matter how special your eyes are, 1-800-CONTACTS can get you the right contacts. And having been, I mean, I wear glasses now, but they're just reading glasses for the most part. Having as bad a vision as I had, which is negative 14.75 and negative 14, something along those lines. For my contact prescription, yeah, I felt I had special eyes. I never would have called 1-800-CONTACTS because I always got my contacts from my doctor because they had to be specially fitted, and I have special eyes. Okay, I don't really have special eyes. My eyes are my eyes, and 1-800-CONTACTS probably could have given me the same contacts that I was getting at the doctor's office without any issue for less money, right? So what was holding me back? Well, I didn't call them because I thought they were for regular people, not people with vision as bad as mine, as an example. So when you're thinking about what's holding them back, what barriers are there, what words do they use? Talking to them specifically is a huge help. And hopefully that example helps you. I'm going to use one more example that I did with one of my other clients. I was actually volunteering with a startup that does inlays on floors and really high-end custom dining room tables and things like that. And I worked with them because they needed a marketing plan and they really wanted to ramp up their marketing. They were a startup, so I didn't want to charge them a bunch of money. And so I introduced them to some other resources that were free in the county to go ahead and help them out. So there's a lot of free resources to help you with this. Especially if you are a consumer-based business, so business to consumer, B2C, contact your county's business development department. See what resources they have for you. A lot of them have resources where they will build a persona or give you your target audience and description and behaviors. Oakland County, Michigan here helped us with this customer. And they took this report or the system that they had purchased for the, I don't need my headphones. they took this system that they had purchased for the health department to track credit card usage and different things, and it was going to flag different things for the health department. They took this system and we put in it a little bit about what we knew about the customer, which they were affluent, um, and that they were female, and that they were 50 plus, because we knew that because they had sold some pieces, and that's who their target was. They were residents in this county. They wanted to expand, but we started with Oakland County, Michigan, and they printed out a report from this system based on credit card data. We found out that she was a stay-at-home mom, okay, but she's an empty nester. She's 50 plus. She's married. She shopped at Nordstrom and Target. Literally, she shopped at Nordstrom and Target. She was a member of a country club. She did some volunteer activity. She was most active on Facebook to see pictures of her kids and what they were doing. Again, this is a handful of years back. And she was on email. That was it. And she was on email like 3 times a week. So there's a ton of resources out there, so that if you're like, hey, I don't really know who I'm selling to, Angie's like, hey, I don't really know who I'm targeting when it comes to selling my photos, you know your price point, right? You maybe know some people that have bought your photos, because I know you're still starting out a little bit, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. You could go to your county, to your SBA resources, those types of things, and then they can help you create your personas, or give you research and tell you what some of those common things are. So for those of you starting, your county and state resources are a huge help, because we can't afford it. So, oh, good. Thank you. Thank you, Angie. Appreciate it. So I'm glad I was right. So really, when it comes to this, if you don't know where to start with your number one customer, the one you want more of. Now, somebody else told me, they're like, I don't want any more of my same customers. I want a different customer. And the reason that they wanted a different customer is because they wanted to start upscaling. So they wanted to start taking their price points from where they were to the next level up. So they needed to target a slightly different audience, and they really didn't know where to start. So the advice that I give you there, if you're trying to upscale or downscale, whatever it happens to be, because both directions are fine, as long as they're profitable, that's a key. When you're thinking about who that person is, you have to know someone like that in your audience, in your friends list, in your LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever it happens to be. You know somebody that fits the profile of who you want to attract. Call them, email them, say, hey, I'm doing some customer research. I would love to learn more about what you do. Are you okay with an informational interview? I'm not going to try and sell you anything. I really just want to know more about you. 9 times out of 10, you ask them for a favor or help, they're going to say yes. And if they say no, they're going to say, no, sorry, I don't have time right now. Here's when I can do it. They might put you off a couple weeks. That's it. And if they don't have time, you can say, hey, is there someone else that you recommend that I speak with? And you can go like that. So if you're looking to change, talk to somebody that matches the profile that you want to change to. Now, I would say, if you don't know anybody that's like the target that you want to be, or you want to attract, they're none of your existing clients, I'm going to say that there might be a disconnect. You might want to rethink that a little bit, because if you don't know who they are or how to find them right now, just to find one to talk to, how are we going to find them later? But again, that's where some county or some SBA, Small Business Association resources can come in to play and could potentially help you from that standpoint, especially if it's like a business to consumer situation. If it's a business to business situation, let's start thinking harder and figure out how we can find somebody in that new target audience. But again, even if it's a company, okay, there's a person at that company doing the purchasing. Who are they and what are they doing? Where do they spend their time online? Clearly they work, right? They work for the size of company that you want to be associated with. But hopefully that gets you a little bit of ideas of thinking about your target audience. I want you to be specific. I want you to be able to describe a person. Okay. So if you got the workbook, there is a page that you can fill out. I want you to name your person. They can have just a first name, or if you want to be fancy and do first and last name, you can do that. How old are they? What do they do? What do they like to do? Where do they work? If they don't work outside the home, you can say works inside the home, or is a stay-at-home mom, or note whatever that is. What takes up the majority of their time during the day? Because for a lot of us, it's work, especially if we're solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners, or even doing stuff as a side hustle. There's a lot of hours in work, right? So what is it that you can do? How can you define that person and define as much of them as possible? If I ask you who your target audience is, I want you to be able to tell me a story. I want you to tell me that, hey, she's 55 years old. She doesn't have a college education. She lives in the suburbs, not in the city. She spends her time on the phone. She maybe plays a few games on her phone. She was a stay-at-home mom, but is an empty nester now. She doesn't like to read a lot other than magazines. She prefers to travel, and her number one destination is wherever her grandkids live. Or she splits her time between Michigan and Florida, or Pennsylvania and Florida, or Pennsylvania and Arizona, something along those lines. She has 2 homes, one, what is it that they do? She's active, she's not active. She spends a lot of time, in her home state, or, in her home neighborhood, because she's got doctor's appointments. Again, what is it that we're targeting? Who is it that you're targeting? Where are they online? And what can you do to identify them so that you can relate? What are their interests? What do they watch on television? That can help, because if you decide eventually to run Facebook ads, you can actually target people that like that show. When I was the Jeep advertising manager and we were launching the Jeep Liberty, we knew that a large majority of people that owned Jeeps were pet owners. They were animal lovers. We knew that. So we were able to factor that into what they were and what they did, and the accessories that we made, and some of the places that we advertised. All of that stuff plays into effect and plays into how you move forward marketing. So even if you think it's a little silly to note about your person, go ahead and do it. So please enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions, and if there's anything I can do to help you better identify your target audience, or if you're looking for resources that are free in your county or with the RSBA or any of those organizations, let me know. Happy to help you do some research to figure out who you need to reach out to. Because I do think that this is an extremely important piece of the puzzle. And it can evolve. Maybe you only know half the story right now, and you start filling in the blanks as you ask more questions and have more conversations. And that's okay. But we have to start somewhere. So let's start with somebody that we're targeting and go from there. And I just want to say thank you to Angie and Lisa for joining in today and participating. So I have prizes for you too that I will get out to you today. I just need your mailing addresses. So you can direct message me, private message me, your address, and I'll be happy to send that to you. I appreciate you tuning in and participating and sharing your stories. Lisa and Angie letting me talk a little bit about your business from that angle a little bit. And I'm glad I was getting it right for the most part. So I want to encourage participation as much as possible. So I have nice little prizes for you that I'd like to get out in the mail. So if there's no other questions, you're welcome. If there's no other questions that you have, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for today. Tomorrow is day 6. I am going live again at noon, and tomorrow is going to be strategy and tactics. I am going to be talking about a laundry list of things that you can do from a marketing standpoint. And we're going to talk a little bit about if it's your existing network and audience, or if you're trying to attract a new audience, and a little bit about what's going to apply for each one. And we're going to talk about them using the marketing funnel from awareness to consideration, all that fun stuff, down to purchase, and what tactics fall where. And there is overlap in those tactics. And what I want you thinking, though, is what tactics are going to be right for me. Because some of them are going to cost money. Some of them are going to be paid. And I will mention those and we will talk about those. But you may not have that budget for that. You can't do everything, right? You can't be all things to all people. So you need to be something to someone. And our tactics, hopefully you'll have completed your persona or your target audience description and know what they are and where they are. Because if they're on Facebook and TikTok, you don't have to be on Instagram. Or if they're on YouTube and email and they stay away from every other social platform, you don't have to be on Facebook and Instagram. And that's just like social media from a conversation. Or if you run in the Troy Times, where I live and work, if they're not reading newspaper, then should you really be there? And that answer is probably no. And so really want to think about it, really want to relate it back. So I'm going to give you a ton of options. Tomorrow is one of the hardest days for me because I'm going to be talking to you about scenarios. And I don't know necessarily what you filled out for your goals or who your target audience is. So I'm going to be talking a lot in generalities. But if you have some specific questions about strategies or tactics that you want to send me, feel free to message me or post a question in the group before I go live tomorrow at noon, and I'll be happy to use that as an example, or feel free to bring it in and put it in the chat, which is down there. Bring it in the chat of this live video, and I will be happy to incorporate that as much as possible. So again, thanks so much for joining, and thank you all for who turned in live, and thank you all for who are watching the replay. I hope this is helping you as you work to grow your business, focus on your business, and hit your marketing plan for 2022 running. Thank you guys.